Never mind.
Sure, we have some more.
Yeah, right. Last one for this class.
Right.
Okay. Has your attitude or feelings about early childhood curriculum changed during this course? What were they before now? What might you do differently if you had a chance to do this course over again? How do you feel the observations, discussions, and projects in this course worked in teaching you about early childhood curriculum? I feel like my feelings have been the same throughout. If anything, they've just broadened more because I have more knowledge now and I'm furthering my knowledge on early childhood as a whole. So I feel like I'm just expanding my knowledge. It's definitely cool to be working in an early childhood setting and being in class because I feel like I get to see it in action and it aligns perfectly. And then with the observations and discussions, it's just, I feel bettering me as a teacher, just in general. And I kind of liked filming myself and like seeing how I look to other people. You never get to like see yourself. So it was cool to do that and then get the feedback and know that I'm actually good at this and doing a good job. So yeah.
I'm kind of like you.
You guys
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't know. So I look like someone else is gonna talk. Go ahead.
I'm kind of like you. My feelings have, it's pretty much the same, but it has like broadened the information that I have, especially in regards to classroom management. Because again, with my classroom, when this is really my first time walking into a classroom, opening up a classroom at the beginning of the school year. When I started with pre-K last year at my old job, it was already a room that was already set up and established. So I was just coming in. And then where I am now, when I started there, I basically walked into a room that was already up and going. So now I've been in it from the beginning. So this has really helped me to kind of see how some of the stuff is like at the beginning of the year, making sure the room is set up a certain kind of way and everything. And as far as the observations, it has helped me to kind of focus more on what I'm doing as a teacher in the classroom, to be more intentional as far as making sure that, that I'm interacting with the kids and that I can, I'm able to manage the classroom, that being able to scan the classroom and see where everybody is and kind of focus and pay attention and look out for the little, the ones who have those little triggers, when it comes to behavior.
I kind of would agree with you guys too. And I think it kind of was just like a refresher for me, like practicing how to do like a lesson plan, because it's been a while since I've done a lesson plan. And then I also think too, like for the observation, like I really liked like filling myself and like, because I feel like, I mean, I know like we all do it on like a daily basis, but like you said, like we don't really get to like see how we are. And then I liked doing like the discussions. Like I really liked being able to meet with you guys. I thought that was really nice. And I like enjoyed like our courses. I felt like everything we learned like related to, what we're doing now or what we'll be doing in the future. And if I had to do anything, it says, what might you do differently if you had a chance to do this course over again? I always say this, just manage my time better. So yeah.
So my feelings have kind of changed just a little bit. I think that now, since I've done the research in the book and learned that you learn so much through play, that every experience we can expand on through play, kind of working with my environment in my classroom to make it almost seem like there's a third teacher. Like it helps with challenging behaviors if you set up your classroom correctly and follow a more detailed schedule routine. And this class, I forget what chapter it was, but it really helped me focus in on, okay, this is like the hot zone of my room. How can I better fix it so that either the kids are spread out more or or, anything else that I can make interesting for them. And like not knowing that what I was doing was touching in so many different sections. So my science was with math, my math was with art, how blended it all is until you see it written on paper. And when I did my lesson plan, it was a lot longer than my TSG lesson plans that I do, but seeing it all written out and the ISB standards that it's following type deal, it kind of validated like, wow, okay, so then, this is the logic behind me doing this activity. So I thought that was good. I don't know what else there is now.
There's a second part with technology. Oh, it says what might you do differently, and then just like observations, discussions, projects in the course.
I hated the observation. I'm my own worst critic, I feel. So I did not like that. Discussions, it was a lot to do. I'm glad that we decided to do this group, because otherwise I think that writing for 3 classes every single week, that would have been way too much on top of the assignments. If I could do something differently, I would have emailed Dickie right away and said like, hey, maybe spread out your assignments so it's not all clustered at the end, because feeling that pressure now is it's a lot. That's mine. Marissa, what about you?
I don't know. I feel like my early childhood curriculum hasn't like really changed. Like, I think I personally in my classroom, I'm more of like the classroom management. I'm more of like a stricter, not like strict, but like my class is so crazy. And I feel like I have more experience than the actual teacher in the classroom because he's very new. He doesn't really know what he's doing, which like he's a great teacher. His classroom management's not there. And I personally like my classes like a little more like relaxed, and like with classroom management and stuff like that, like they get more relaxed. So like I've always been just that type of teacher. When I first started teaching, I wasn't like that, but now I am. So I don't really think it's changed. I think things are starting to click more, and like things that I do or I see other people do, I can refer back and like figure out, oh, this is what they're doing, this is why they're doing it. What might you do differently if you have the chance to do this course over? Email and say, hey, can we do these earlier, like all these video meetings earlier? Because I know there was a couple of times that we had to write out when we were doing three discussions a week. I think it was like for the first 2 weeks, or even like 3 that we were doing that. How do I feel about the observations? If I have to listen to my voice on camera one more time, I might end it all. I might end it all. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. It was fine because like my observations were fine, but like listening to my voice and listening to the way I talk to the kids, I was like, ugh.
You sound
And then I saw my outfit for the day and I was like, stop. Is that what I look like? I was mad. Big mad.
You definitely don't think that you sound that way until you hear it. And you're like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. They should hear me when I'm upset.
I feel like with my kids, I have a customer service voice. You know how like the customer service representatives, well, I get on the video and it wasn't even for the video, but me when I'm in the classroom, I'm about 3 times higher.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody, and I'm just like, oh, Nikes, let's put a pause. Let's put a pause in that.
We're performers, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They should give us a degree in theater too. Like,
yeah.
This.
I would say that I don't really think that my attitude or feelings about early childhood curriculum has changed during this course. It's just gotten wider, like you guys had said. I've taken in things that I've learned from you guys. I've taken pointers and ideas and tried to use them in my classrooms. If I could do anything differently, if I had the chance to do this over, maybe just time management.
Mhm.
The observations, I still haven't gotten my feedback yet, so I don't really know how to feel about it that way, but as far as doing it, I definitely was not happy about it. Emailed right after I turned it in. I emailed Tate because I already knew that it failed. I have 2 very struggling classrooms right now, and trying to get the mental health and behavioral health under control in the classrooms, which is making it very hard. Kind of like right now, I'm working on all of our TS Gold stuff so I can get my checkpoints done on Wednesday. I'm finding that I don't have a lot of documentation for a lot of kids because a lot of my time is spent trying to diffuse the
Mhm.
behavioral things, but how do you explain that to TS Gold and Eckers? Why you don't have this? Why I don't have
Right.
this because of this? So I think I've been able to see that I was supposed to be, or I am supposed to be that supplemental person that comes in for 2.5 hours to teach. And what's happening is I'm not getting to teach as much as I should be, but instead I'm spending more time on diffusing issues or guiding and teaching the teachers that are in the room all day with the kids on how to handle these situations. What's the last part? I think the projects were great. Like you said, the lesson plan was a lot longer than it was that I have to do in TS Gold. And I'm just gonna take all the pieces with me that I've learned this far and utilize them in my classrooms. And I'm definitely going to redo one of my classrooms because for a while it was flowing perfectly and beautifully. And right now it's just at a point where everybody's either congregated here or here, and it's just complete chaos. So that tells me that it's not flowing, and I have to change the way it's set up in order for it to flow correctly. So that way I can utilize my classroom as another teacher and tool when we're inside. And that's my.
Next one. Did everybody answer? Are we going to the next one? Okay. Is there such a thing as too much technology in an early childhood classroom? What are the pluses for technology usage in the classroom? What are the potential drawbacks of technology usage? In what ways can the use of technology enhance children's development? I think it's plus because they're engaged in something and not running around like crazy, but
Yeah.
that's off the record. Okay.
I think there are instances when it's too much. Like, I don't know about like the demographic at like your guys' schools or programs, but mine is mostly white, rich kids. And all they do at home is sit on their tablets and scroll through all of their things. And like last year, we would do like an iPad, like we did iPad time because we would have like educational like games for ABCs, like, or like, because I work at a private Lutheran school, or we'd have like Jesus time stories like on the iPad or whatever. But what ended up happening is one kid's on the iPad, and then there's like 4 or 5 behind them
Mhm.
looking at the same thing that they did earlier, but they have to be fixed on the iPad. Or
Mhm.
like I have students that like all the classrooms have smart boards in them, And the minute the smart board gets turned on, their attention's like this. Like sometimes I just think it's too much. Like I think it's great because there are kids that like don't have access to that stuff at home, and it's important for them to like be able to use that and get those experiences. But on the other hand, like some of these kids every day, Miss Marissa, on my iPad, this is what I did. Girl, I don't even got an iPad. Get away from me. Sometimes I just think it's too much. And sometimes like there has to be more that we can do instead of letting them sit in front of like an iPad.
Screens.
I agree to an extent. I feel like with everything in life in modern times, it is starting to be more technology savvy, and I don't feel like it's going anywhere. However, the way that we utilize the programs, if you're just having Go Noodle on your screen, like Time to Boogie to shake our sillies out, that's fine. Those are, I think, productive things, right? If you're letting a child just go on a tablet to explore, or like, it's restricted, right? But still just to explore. One, okay, it's juicy at first, but then eventually it does get boring and they wanted something more on that iPad, right? It's one of those things that's like, I feel like this is new, uncharted territory that we're going into because they're so dependent on this technology. Where when I was little, we had like one, maybe two TVs in the house. And it was like, okay, well, it's Friday. We're watching TGIF. Here we go.
Yeah.
But we had our set things. And then at a certain time, it was mom and dad's time. Like there was no ifs, ands, or buts. Now we're having it where there's how many TVs in each household. There's some children with TVs in their room. There's adults with TVs in their bedrooms and this and that. And it's just such a disconnect, I feel, to what is going on around you. But that being said, with winter coming and I can't take the kids outside, there's going to be more technology in my room. I will have gross motor time, but it's going to be severely limited compared to in the summer when I could take them to the garden, take them for a walk, take them to the park. It's just, I think there's too much time, but like I see both sides because it's just, it's a lot.
Or sorry, I didn't want, are you, okay, I didn't want to cut anyone off, sorry. I agree. I think, with like kind of all you guys said, like, I think there is such a thing as like too much technology. I work in a class with like behavioral and autistic kids, and a lot of times when they're at home, like they'll be on their iPads all the time, or I think sometimes parents don't always know like how to cope with some of the behaviors, so they'll just give the kid an iPad. And I feel like that's not really like helping with the situation. Like, oh, every time you get angry or upset, like here's an iPad. And we have a few kids in our class who will just like repeat words and they'll kind of get like stuck on it. So like I have one boy in my class and he loves to listen to like different songs or just different sayings, and he'll literally just keep like repeating it over and over. So like I definitely think like technology, TV, being on a phone, iPad, there's too much of it. And then I've also seen like where we had a little boy in our class and he was playing on his, not at school, but when he was at home, he was playing on his iPad. And he came to school the next day saying that he watched some of it. And I was like, oh my God, I was like, that's so not appropriate. So yeah, so I definitely think there are drawbacks of technology, but at the same time, I do think there are like benefits. Like for one of my stations, the kids come and we do like a Jolly Phonics song. So like they learn about like the letter N, I, E, and then we also do like Go Noodle. So I do think like that's a helpful like break. And sometimes when kids are having like a meltdown in their class, they can choose an iPad, but I just don't think it should be something that like kids can go to all the time or always have to like rely on. And then, and what ways can technology, yeah, and same thing, like just like some of our kids like are learning like letters. So like they like to go on the iPad and like learn about different letters. And it actually is helpful because it is drawing the kids' attention and it's kind of making it a fun game. I just don't want kids in my classroom or in any classroom to always like rely on that. Like, oh, every time I get upset, I go on the iPad or I do this, because I feel like they're not really like coping with their strategies. It's just more like a defense mechanism. And I also feel like kids are missing out on like opportunities, like Crystal said, like going outside or just like interacting with their peers. So I think there's good sides to both, just having it be limited.
I forgot to mention in my room, we have a bunch of IFSPs for speech delays, and there's one little boy that uses the box to say like what he wants. So
Mhm.
that's a piece of technology that I think is instrumental. Like it helps him be able to vocalize to us without needing the sign
A
what
talker.
he wants. So
Mhm.
when they say technology, instantly I'm thinking iPads,
Yeah,
smart boards,
same,
this
yeah.
and that. But at the same time, now I just reflected for a moment, and it was like, wait, his little box that helps us,
Mhm.
that's a technology piece that we use daily that is essential to
Oh,
his
yes.
learning.
Right.
So I think it just depends on which piece of the technology, we're talking.
Right, I agree. Yeah, we have a few kids in our class. Like there's a boy in our class who has like what you're saying, like that it's like a little like talker, like box thing. And he'll say it sometimes like some kids, depending on like their age level, like seem like they have better use of it, where other kids kind of will like stem up, where like they'll just kind of like repeat it or just like want to play on it. Like I have a boy in my class and he loves like clothing. So he'll type in like jacket, underwear, pants. And like, but it won't be like what we're actually talking about. So, be like, how's the weather? And he'll be on that. But yes, I definitely agree. Like I think when kids can use it appropriately and they know how, like that is definitely a good use of technology. So I would agree with you.
For me, I work in where the center where I look at is predominantly African American, not some parents work, a lot of the parents don't. So, it's basically a lot of Head Start children. And what I found as far as technology is that my kids, they do well for a moment, depending on, we have PBS that on our computers. So they can come, they can get on there and do games and look at videos, but it's all educational. But what I found is that if you put on, they will actually, not even my kids, but my previous kids, they will actually want to just sit there and look at the computer. And I think that for them, especially for children in high risk areas, the technology can be good in some ways, like I said, when it's used for educational purposes, but when it's used for just like babysitter or, just a distraction, is not good, because what I found is that their language development is not where it should be because nobody's talking to them. Getting them to sit down and sitting down while you read a story is a task. So I think that most of everything that they hear, if they hear a story, it's probably on a video, an ebook or whatever. It's not the parents sitting down reading to them. So in some ways, again, technology can be good because I use it in the morning time. I've started to use it in the morning after breakfast, because what I found is that if I tell them, hey guys, go sit on the carpet with a book while I'm cleaning up after breakfast, it's like chaos. The book becomes a car, it's a push toy, they're fighting over it or whatever. But if I put on like kids Zumba while I'm cleaning off the table, then there's something where they're engaged, they're up, they're moving, and nobody's killing anybody, nobody's fighting anybody. I don't hear, but then the problem becomes, oh, I can't see. Well, yes, you can, because the person in front of you is not tall. You just want to be in the front. So, it becomes that part. But yeah, technology does have its benefits. And I did have a girl at my previous job. She had a trach. So she had one of those machines that helped her, that she was beginning to use it to help her communicate with us, where she didn't have to sign everything. So in those aspects, it is good, because you do have students who, like her, or either someone who's blind who can't see, who can't see the words, whether they might need that audio aspect. So yeah, I mean, it has its good things about it, but it does have the drawbacks, like I said, especially when the kids are not getting the verbal language, they're not getting communicated with on a regular basis, because everybody's just giving them technology and they're picking up what the technology is saying, And sometimes what the technology is saying is not what they should be picking up at all. Because I have some kids, they can tell you some curse words from a song, but if you ask them to tell you something that they should know for their age, you will never get the answer. So yeah.
At my center, I have a pretty evenly mixed, diverse amount of children, from all cultural backgrounds. And it seems like since COVID, we kind of lost half of our kids and then gained like a new half. And the more new children that we keep enrolling, it seems like we're getting more diverse families in, especially some from other countries, which is kind of nice. We do have some full feed families, but I would say the majority of my families are low income, and they either get the state assistance or help with United Way. And if I can remember right, I think that with our licensing, we're only allowed 60 minutes of screen time a day. So we really have to look at that and divide it down in how we're going to use it, because it's not just 60 minutes for me as a teacher, it's as a classroom as a whole. So if the other teachers are going to use it prior to me coming in the classroom or after, all of that is very vital. We've had a couple children with the Dynavoxes, which speak for them. I've worked with children that have the other machines that speak for them, where they type with their eyes because they can't move any other parts of their body. And I think technology, when it's used properly, it can increase their social, emotional, cognitive skills. Developmentally appropriate digital resources, I think they can create or help create interactive environments where children are engaged in mastering specific skills, whether it be, I know my cousin works a lot with her kids at home, and I know her little girls work on that's like letter matching. So you have to grab the letter with your finger and drag it up and put it on there in the right place in order for it to stay. Some of the benefits I think are engagement, inclusion, creativity, kind of opens the doors for that. Drawbacks I think are, like you said, the excessive screen time, distraction, less human interaction. I can definitely tell which kids are the ones that get the iPads at home. Because they are the ones that are less interested in what we have to do. And the minute I pull the iPad out to turn music on, they are right there pulling my arm down so they could see the screen. And then we just recently have a little boy that his mom let us know, because he's kind of always had behaviors, but they've gotten increasingly worse. And she just realized last weekend that while she's sleeping, he's getting up and getting the iPad and he's staying up all night long. So he's getting no sleep.
Wow.
So then he's coming to us
Cranky.
like a bear. And then he's not wanting to eat. He's not wanting to participate. We're getting fits like every half hour. And they're just explosive fits. So that's a huge problem. And looking at in what ways can the use of technology enhance the children's development, maybe with some eye-hand coordination and fine motor skills, creativity, and independence, maybe, as long as it's age appropriate. But we really don't have a lot of technology in my classroom. We've never really offered the iPad as something. We only did that for one child who was nonverbal. As for the other children, I have a lot of sensory things in a box called a quiet box, and we have a safe area. So like if a child's too upset or they're angry, they just don't want to participate and they just need to take a break, They can just take themselves to the safe area and interact with whatever is over there. Because honestly, I think if I was to bring an iPad out for them to use, I think it would turn into a negative thing in my classroom, just because I feel like majority of my children right now live on iPads at home. So
Mhm. And I mean,
Also-
like,
Oh, sorry.
no, like Tessa was saying, you can definitely tell the kids who get the iPad or the television at home. Because I recently had a student, and when we did the ESI assessment, he was definitely flagged as being referred. And then I found out that last year, when it was done, it was on that he should be referred as well, but mom refused. And he would come in, and all he would do was cry all day, whine all day. He wanted to go home. And he's like, "What are you gonna do?" "I want to go home and watch TV." So, and you could definitely tell, like with the language delays, the cognitive, just the whole thing of where should be getting, his mind should be more a little bit more focused, because he will be going to kindergarten next year. He was where the 3-year-olds were, because it's like nobody's talking, he's watching television, or I'm sure playing a video game on an iPad. So yeah.
I agree. I think you can tell which kids are on the iPad and like they're using it. Like I said, I have a boy, like he comes and he scripts stuff that he's seen on the iPad, like really random stuff like that he watches. He'll just come and he'll repeat and he'll say it. And it's kind of like he almost gets like stuck in his head. Like I know sometimes for autistic kids, they script words and they can't get out of it. And I think too, like you guys made a lot of like really good points. Like I think you said too, Carmelita, like how the kids aren't getting like the social, like emotional support. And I think after COVID, like you really like saw that a lot of kids weren't as socially interactive. They didn't know necessarily what to do. I go outside with a regular ed class, and like I even just observed that and talking to like one of the lead teachers in there. She also said too that she knows a lot of kids like they're just kind of, they don't have that like social interaction that they used to have, and they're, I don't know, like kind of like relearning it just because we spent so much time on a screen last year.
I agree with that. I mean, that's what I was gonna say too. Like, we literally lost a whole year to them being on tablets and things like that. Like, tasks such as like how to hold a pencil, like handwriting, because now all they do is tap, they scroll, you know what I'm saying? And as far as like the interaction, I mean, I can relate with that wholeheartedly. Like when I had to go physically back into work this year, that was hard for me. Like I had no desire in participating in those icebreaker activities. Like I had no desire in the small talk, any of that. I was just like, put me back at home with my laptop where I can shut my camera off and just listen and then log off. So, I mean, I can relate with that. So if me, an adult, felt like that, I can imagine how a small child,
Yeah.
I agree too.
So I think we cover our bases, ladies.
Yeah, we're good. I was like, we're good. I don't want to cut off
Tapped
anyone.
out. Peace.
I'm gonna stop recording.